we talked about Live Drugs Again, the new album by the War on Drugs that came out. And we took our own Live Drugs tour along with the Zen Diagram tour that had the National and Lucius on it. And we're going to talk about that experience. If you haven't already listened to episode 5, go back and do that. But let's start out here. First impressions of just heading to Columbus. We headed to Columbus to start out, and then got prepared for the first night at Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio. So just, I don't know, where do you want to start?
I don't know. It was a classic road trip for us. There's puppies breathing in my ear here, and I keep thinking about how badly I want to pet them and for them to make an appearance on the screen.
Yeah, we're doing video this time.
I
So
know.
We'll change up.
Yeah, we usually have good road trips, so it was a long one. Columbus is almost 4 hours away.
Yeah, it was a bit of a drive to Columbus.
Getting into Columbus was fun. The moon had come out and it was dark, and I always love driving into like a skyline and listening to music and getting excited for being in a new place.
Yeah, I think part of when we set this up, the excitement was kind of experiencing. You had done this before, right? Followed a band. I had actually never up to this weekend.
Bands,
yeah, I had never done a band back-to-back nights. So I'd only done singleton concerts before.
That's not entirely true.
Oh, we did do the War on Drugs once before.
We did Louisville and then Indianapolis.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Mm-hmm. But I guess this was more of like a group tour.
That wasn't far. I mean, that was,
Okay.
Louisville's close and Indianapolis isn't that far. But yes, traveling like that was
felt
a
like
first
we were
for
on,
us
on
together.
Tour.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. I loved Columbus. We had been there and seen the War on Drugs there in 2016. Was that
17.
Deeper Understanding?
17.
Would have been the album that had come out.
October 2017.
Yeah, and just really enjoyed the city. Feels very vibrant and young. It's college town, of course. I'm always looking for the coffee spots there, so we found a couple of good coffee spots to hit up while we were there. Just the vibe of the city is kind of fun.
Columbus is cool. Cleveland, I've been to Cleveland before as well for a concert, and Cleveland, the area that we were in was a little bit grittier. So, and that was in actually the exact same time. So that was 2003, October 2003 was the last time I was in that area, Cleveland, but we stayed in Cleveland. So we just drove into Cleveland for the concert and stayed in Columbus to make our drive shorter for the next day. But yeah, Columbus is really cool area. I would go back, lots to do. The only pitfall is that was it an Ohio State football game?
Oh yeah, there was an Ohio State football game that day. You got to be ready for crowds. They love their football.
Yeah, and the college bros were out. So,
yes, the college bros were out.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into the first night then. Set me up. We've got some actual audio from you as we drove into Cuyahoga Falls. But I think that maybe my favorite part, or one of my favorite parts of the first night of the concert experience, was the drive into Cuyahoga Falls.
Oh my gosh, yeah. You felt that temperature drop. One of my favorite War on Drugs concerts was at Landmark Music Festival, and that was Washington, D.C. in 2015. And we had that 70-degree weather during the day and the maybe high 60s at night. And that was such a cool vibe. And it rained a little bit. So having an outdoor concert and feeling that temperature drop as you're driving into the national park area and listening to music and the sun's starting to set was really cool. I was really excited.
Yeah, it's early fall. It's always a little bit ahead of where we are down here in southern Indiana. The leaves are starting to turn a little bit. It's super windy road, and you're kind of curving around. And then I went ahead and parked about a mile from the venue. So
I was stressed about that.
I know, but it was a great walk up.
Yeah,
right?
it wasn't bad. The walk back felt longer.
The walk back felt longer.
Yeah, the walk up wasn't too bad.
Pretty epic.
Yeah.
And then what about the vibe? I thought the vibe for the going into the concert was immaculate. Again, like a cool evening, so no one's stressed out.
Right.
The whole setting of it is beautiful. It's where the Cleveland Orchestra or Symphony Orchestra, usually that's their kind of residency there.
Right. Really cool. Like a little outdoor opera house almost. Yeah. Sitting down with we got the coolness from the river too, which Cincinnati is another outdoor venue. The River Bend that I love that gets that breeze from the river in the evenings. That's really cool. Anna and I saw Incubus there in 2002, cool. I think. And that's one of my favorite concerts too, just because as far as the atmosphere and the vibe. So I was excited for the venue in general. Lots of it sits down, so when you want to go back up,
the hill
bit
up.
Of a steep hike.
Yeah. Get whatever you want at the top of the hill first, so that you don't have to double back till the concert's over. Luckily
enough, I got the VIP to where we sat down. Not in the pit was really small, but it was the orchestra seating.
Yeah.
So we got options for food and drinks directly to the sides of us. But merch or just more things were up. Or if you wanted to see from the lawn, it was up higher. But
definitely. Yeah. Well, take us into the set list then for the first night, because I think you had that down and can talk a little bit about how it matched your expectations. Of course, they could listen to your dream set list, but we could compare it a bit to what you had anticipated or hoped for. There's a couple of standouts, I think, that you'll get to were pretty impressive. And then you could get impressions, too, of Lucius. I know that one of the cool things was that Adam, the lead singer for the War on Drugs, came out and played with them on their new song, Old Tape. Pretty cool. Any thoughts on the national you may have, too? But start out with our main event, the War on Drugs.
Yeah, so they open with Oceans of Darkness, and that's a great one to open with. Robbie on the keys. It's such a big sound, so that's a fun one to start off with.
That was originally on your set list till I made you trim down the total number. That might have been the last cut.
Since you brought that up, I wasn't going to mention it till the end, but I think you were going to ask me about my solo journey to Savannah this past week. And my best friend Chantel and I saw My Morning Jacket, and they played 20 songs.
Nice. That's a good number.
So.
Well, they were solo though, right?
No. They
had an opening?
2 opening
Oh,
bands.
wow. Okay.
So
you need them headlining is what you need.
21 for my dream War on Drugs concert is not out of reach.
Got it. Okay. Take us into some of the songs. You had Ocean of Darkness.
Oceans of Darkness. And I felt like the set list sort of followed my method a little bit of, or maybe strayed a few times from I need kind of 2 within the same pace or beat because of how emotional I get, that I kind of need to linger in that feeling for a while. Otherwise, if it's too quick of a excitement and tears, I'm excited for every song, but every song evokes some sort of deep emotion and memory or feeling within me. But it went from Oceans of Darkness to Pain.
Yeah.
And this is about the time where poor Aaron didn't feel well. He was devastated, but he had to
I'm a soldier,
sit.
though.
he had to sit, so I sort of saw the concert by myself.
Nah, but I listened intently, so I can comment on the sound.
I felt bad. I bent down several times to have a moment with you, and you just were trying to trooper through and not get sick. But then
I was zoning into the music, so that kept me going. That was the reason to be there.
But then I also kept thinking, I look at people around us that were like, that poor guy's sick, and she's just ignoring him, jumping around on her own. But so I tried to make sure I checked in, where
I wouldn't have it any other way.
Asked if you needed to, sit on the lawn or sit and catch a breeze somewhere.
Yeah. Enough about me. Get back to the songs.
True. I know. I just was saying that that I can do all things by myself if I need to. So if you can't make it to any concerts, I clearly am successful solo as well. Then we went to Ocean in Between the Waves, which I think on my dream set list, I might have had the original one, Oceans of Darkness, and an Ocean in Between the Waves together. And then I had Pain. So it was sort of in that
ballpark.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
that's a great start then.
It was an exciting Ocean in Between the Waves is so fun. That has such a fun start to it as well. Oh my gosh. And then we went into I Don't Want to Wait.
So newer song. How did you like that was the first time you'd heard that live, right?
I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Did we hear that in San Diego?
I don't remember.
We might have.
Doesn't seem like it, but maybe. Yeah.
I was very excited in San Diego, but I was in La La Land
a
little bit because it had been so long since we had seen them.
Yeah.
I Don't Want to Wait's a fun one to sing along to.
Nice build up. Yeah. Big chorus.
Right.
Crowd got into it. That was kind of one of the first like big crowd moments. Everybody kind of singing along to that one.
And then where I was really hoping you would make a swift turnaround was Harmonious Dreams.
That song was great. That sounded fantastic.
Oh, so good.
That is the first time you've heard that live, right?
Yes,
yeah.
You too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wanted to hear it in San Diego.
So bad. I was
San Diego set, though, they played a lot of...
almost all old school.
Lost in the Dream, from Lost in the Dream. And
Makes sense. It made sense with that crowd. They might not have been as...
It was exciting for us, too, being that we hadn't seen them in a while. So.
For sure.
But I know we've already sort of talked about that set. But yeah, Harmonious Dream, that was where the emotions really started to kick in for me. I felt it with Pain a little bit, but Harmonious Dream, I really got into my feels there. And a cute story. We were in the third, so the pit, I don't know how many people. It was a small number of people, which is how Cincinnati is set up too. And then we were in the third row middle, so still really close to the stage, but it's a huge venue. Did it say like 18,600 people with the lawn?
We were trying to figure out before if it was the biggest venue we'd ever seen them at. I think we decided it was a little bigger than what San Diego was.
Right, if you don't count a festival.
Right, yes, of course.
So we were in the third row. The row, and there's 3 sections, and we were in the middle section. And in the row directly in front of us, in the seat directly in front of me, over 2 maybe, so that I'm, looking at this person like that, but can clearly reach out and touch. I kept thinking, I was like, I know her. That looks like this girl that I worked with in Chicago in 2007 and 2008 that was a little bit younger than me. I was 25, 26 then, and I think she was a freshman in college. So not that far off in age, but then, when you're like 18 or 19 and longer. You're 25 or 26. And I was a manager at Urban Outfitters of one of the departments, and she was on my team. So,
You were a team lead?
No, I ended up being the WAC, Women's Accessories Manager.
There you go.
And then you have a team lead and then staff that are on your team. So she was on that, and I always just really liked her. She is from Pennsylvania, and I remember her taking the train to go home sometimes in Chicago. And then we also connected over how close she was to Cincinnati, because I traveled to Cincinnati so often for concerts, and then all of our pro sports teams are in Cincinnati. So we bonded then. She was like a little sister to me. But I thought, I haven't seen her since 2008. So it was like, that looks like her. Her hair was a little darker, and I thought it was her, but that would be bizarre, right? I haven't seen her in so long, and 18,000 people in here, and she would be in the row directly in front of me. And I think it was during I Don't Want to Wait, she turned around and said, "Cassie, it's Lane." And it was her, and it was so wild.
That's so cool.
And she was with her husband. I think they're married. I think it was her husband. It could be fiance or boyfriend.
Yeah.
I was so excited. I didn't even ask for sure, but we hadn't seen each other in so long. And I was like, I thought that was you. That is so wild. And she said, on our way in here, I was just talking about you, which is, again, it's been 16 years since I've seen her, or, I'm sure social media after I moved out of Chicago. But I was like, why was she talking about me? And she said that she was telling the guy that she was with, fiance or husband, that she was excited to see both bands, but she wished that she had friends that liked the same bands as her, and that this girl that she used to work with in Chicago loves the War on Drugs, and that's her favorite band. And then I guess just being, maybe said some other things, but she turned around several times and was like, I can't believe I was just talking about you. So that was really cool. And so it was kind of nostalgic and emotional on different levels. But that was fun for that to happen. And we've been texting too.
Oh,
so
nice.
yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
You. Well, take us back into the set list then too, because I think there's a couple more standouts that really got you. I mean, I know you love every song, but what were a couple of other standouts?
Strangest Thing was next. That's on my dream set list as well. There's not much that beats the guitar solos in that live. It feels one of those like in your whole body kind of feels. There was a guy in front of us that like real clean cut, looked like he could have been like a banker in his maybe like late 50s or early 60s. And he was with another guy, and he lost his mind when I think Adam said this song's called Strangest Thing. And I usually don't get out of the moment much unless I'm sharing a moment with you, but I couldn't help but look at the guy and smile because he had his eyes closed so tight and was playing air guitar like it was the greatest night of his life. So it's fun to see other people experience the way the live music moves you and excites you. And I got a kick out of that guy.
That's great.
And then after that, one of my favorite War on Drugs songs and favorite songs live, They Did Come to the City.
Yeah. And that's on Live Drugs again. And oh man, that was a absolute banger.
Yeah, we had the pleasure of hearing that one live many times. Yeah. Just gotten lucky that it must be fun to do live, but the way Eliza harmonizes with him at the end, before we went in, I think on the drive in, I might have even put that on because I thought the setting for Cuyahoga Falls was perfect for that song. So I was hoping that we would get to hear that. And I mentioned that I loved the song prior and on the album, and every time we've heard it live, it's been great. But she brings something else, the way her voice harmonizes with his. The last like 30 seconds or minute of the song, whatever it is an experience in itself. And I was so pumped for that one.
such an atmospheric song that it's perfect for outdoor venue.
It is,
perfect for the evening, the sun. It had been dark out by that point, so really like the lights. Their lighting show. That's one of those things that I don't know when it happened in concerts in general, but bands lighting rigs in the last decade or so have become so much more elaborate. Yeah. It used to be like maybe a spotlight or a little bit of smoke, but with all the LED lights now, it's like part of the show now.
Yeah, I remember noticing their lights maybe at the Vogue in 2015 or 2016, like really noticing how much bigger not that the venue wasn't huge, but just the light production was so cool for that show. Like rainbow colors and even just the white lights, the way they flash with the music sometimes, or they backlight and silhouette the guys is really cool. Makes for an excellent photo opportunity.
What else? Any other ones you wanted to talk about from Cuyahoga Falls?
Well, then I could have been buried on scene because...
Take me up to the grass. Find me a spot.
Dig me a hole because they did In Reverse.
Yeah.
I did not put this on my dream set list.
Yeah.
Because of the intense emotion. And I actually chose Best Night. I think I told you I could not have both Best Night and In Reverse on my set list.
It'd be too much.
Too much. But
this was just right? I made an appearance. I mustered up.
You did.
I had to share that one for a little bit.
You got to hold me while I was shaking.
It was great.
And then I saw that was the tour debut for In Reverse.
Man.
And I felt like it was just for us.
Yep, no doubt.
But we have a just long-standing feeling and sentimental value to In Reverse, and it's one where even you get tearful at the live shows during In Reverse. But
such a sweet song. But also a difficult sentiment. That's part of life, right?
Well, the interesting thing was that we hadn't talked about it when the album came out, and we both had a special connection to that song, and it was similar yet different, just related to the time that we were going through. And I had connected it to things that I had lost but knew, I'd again find one day, even if it's on the other side. And you had sort of connected it to turning the page onto from a tough time to moving forward, which I guess sort of is the way I looked at it too. Yeah. But I tend to be the Debbie Downer of the two sometimes. So we got In Reverse, and I blacked out after that, I think.
I did want to hit too. I was teasing you about Strangest Thing, and we were talking about songs in the key of Cass with the different guitar tones that Adam had, and he had a Telecaster this time that sounded so great. It's so chimey. We can talk about that because I remember at Bourbon and Beyond the next night, oh my gosh, that guitar sounded incredible. Yeah. But you found a new favorite song while we were in Columbus.
I did. You were looking for a coffee shop, and I had gone. There was like this really cool, almost like strictly denim store. And even the way it was set up was not like men's and women's. It was all just kind of along the walls, which I like. I mean, jeans are jeans. Who cares who wears them, right? And the guy that was working in the store was super nice and talking, but I heard a familiar sound in my ear and didn't want to be like, dude, you got to shut up for a minute because I have to hear what this is. But I tried to get out my phone and like face it away from him so that Shazam could pick up what was happening, because it had the reverb, chimey sound to it that is...
That's your jam.
That's my jam. That's my sound.
Yeah.
Red Eyes kind of has that song. Revelator Eyes from the Paper Kites has that sound. That's my favorite sound. Did I tell you that's at my funeral? That's what I want to be.
I think you said
Even
that.
though I want to be cremated, you can carry my urn to that song.
Okay.
And yeah, it's Kool-Aid by Royal Otis. That song's a vibe. Do I even say that? That song's a vibe. It is a vibe though. It is. It's a feeling. I'm trying to use different words.
That's like,
that song's a feeling.
That's like gaslighting. Everybody's saying it's a vibe right now. That's one of those. I was just teasing you about
you
gaslighting.
did gaslight me into you hurt my feelings and then tried to make it sound like I hurt your feelings for hurting my feelings.
Everyone is using that word.
You're a little late though. Gaslighting really started to come to fruition in the last 2 years. So. Get with it, Grant.
All right. I'm catching up. All right, take us to the next day. We doubled back. We're heading to Louisville for Bourbon and Beyond, which we've got to go if there isn't a situation like this again. We need to go for multiple days because this festival, I love the setup of this. I went with Nick a couple of years ago, and it was the first festival I had been to that has the side-by-side main stages, so you don't have to walk all over. You can just literally camp out in one spot and move kind of pretty easily between the two stages so that you can hear more of the bands that you want. There are some bands that are on the other side, so you have to go over there to see them. There's a smaller stage. One of the VIP
bracelets to be able to do that
part. I mean, I'm so glad you did that. That does annoy me just a little bit because
it used to not be like that.
Yeah, because as a young person, I remember what a big deal it was to get up front and to have to gate it off from
you shouldn't have to spend extra money.
Some of the biggest fans, if they're willing to wait it out for that one band. But of course, that it worked out wonderfully for us. You can't be too mad, and I get it. I mean, if they can pay the artists more, then
I don't know how I would set it up though, because there are people who were camped out. I heard them say the War on Drugs played at 5:35, I think was what they were supposed to play. My Morning Jacket played on the same stage, and there were people there that said they were there since 11:20. And I thought that's really cool, but we got to have some trust in each other a little bit too, which I really tried to spread around.
I think it worked. We'll talk about that when we get to your your case
cool
for
people.
MVP of the War on Drugs.
There were some not cool people, which you scooted me away from, who claimed I kicked him. How do I kick you when I'm walking at a snail's pace, just standing there?
I think I might have used the word vibes to call back to you just saying vibes. I think I might have said that. I don't like the vibe. I don't like the vibes right now. We gotta move.
Hey, it's so good to be in a vibe. I just didn't want to overuse it or sound like a poser.
Well, before we get to their set list, do you want to hit any other the bands that were standouts from either from Bourbon and Beyond? I know
there were amazing bands for the entirety of the weekend, but we made the choice to see the War on Drugs on Saturday and only do the one day of Bourbon and Beyond. But we did get to see the Beach Boys.
They were a lot of fun.
Mike Love, is the carryover standout.
But his son,
his son is in it.
Yeah.
And I think prior to knowing that, I told you that I feel like there's got to be some family connection because of how well the way that they sing and the tone of their voices and the way they harmonize. Sometimes you can't just put that together. I think
they said that in the documentary, how they talked about.
Did they?
Yeah, I think so. In the Beach Boys documentary, they talk about how their voice.
I should be a rock and roll historian.
Their voices blend together in a special way. I loved My Morning Jacket. I thought they were fantastic. That was later in the evening, but they were a ton of fun in there. I hadn't seen them, I don't think, since we were in Louisville in like 2016 when we were down on the river for that festival. So I was really excited to see them.
That was 2015.
2015. So man, almost like 10 years ago now. Yeah. But they sounded great, and they Jim James was doing his thing up there with his little moves, and had his pink suit on with a.
I stayed back.
Being fun.
It's white and pink, by the way.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I got an even better view this week.
Oh, okay. Humble brag. Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But the Beach Boys were great too. What about Tyler Childers?
I really like Tyler Childers. I went through a Tyler Childers phase, so he sounds great live. He's got such a cool voice, great guitar player, has a lot of slide guitar and just old country sound.
Rocked a little more.
He does a little bit of everything.
Yeah, than I would have thought. I thought his album cuts are pretty chill a lot of times.
I think what I played for you last year, almost 2 years ago, maybe. I remember when we were going to Nashville. I played a lot of him on the way, and I chose kind of the chill, fun driving songs. But he was great. We both had to work in the morning, so we had to start scooting before it was over. But had our ear to the stage even while slowly walking.
All right, take us into your. I dubbed it the fan MVP performance.
I appreciate that.
You were into this night especially. I think maybe because I hadn't been feeling well the night before and was back for this one, so I helped with the vibes a lot more.
What have I
this evening.
Also always said is that I love the War on Drugs outside for some reason. Yes.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, you'll have to talk about that moment. That was ridiculous.
And like temperature pending.
Yeah.
So before we did my Dream Setlist podcast earlier this year, I did a first draft of the Dream Setlist, and I chose Dream Venue and temperature, weather conditions and temperature, and my placement. So I love being in front of the stage, but I'm not a huge fan of, I'm a child of the 80s, which means I was going to concerts in the early 2000s while being crushed around the stage, and I'm not a fan of that. But you don't get that at the War on Drugs. I was more worried about people being stressed about crowding in for the next bands, too, on top of people who were there to see the War on Drugs, that I got to have my space to jump around and move and feel free.
There was a guy that was like 6'9".
He was real nice to me too.
Initially near the front, and he was like very sweet.
Well, first of all, I like to set the tone and the environment and reassure the people around me that I'm good company while not being annoying or seeming like some like drunk girl who's not actually drunk. So I was trying not to be rude and just step up to the rail because I couldn't tell. There were people that were very like willy-nilly kind of standing there and didn't appear to be there for the War on Drugs.
Right, yeah.
So I was sort of waiting that, okay, when they step away, I'll step in. No one else around us is really. And then I saw a lot of My Morning Jacket shirts around us. So I asked people, are you here to see, have you been waiting to see the War on Drugs or My Morning Jacket? And there were some super nice people that were like, oh, well, we're here, we're excited to see the War on Drugs, but we've been standing here waiting to get up close for My Morning Jacket. And then I reassured them that I know that I'm encroaching on you, and I also love My Morning Jacket, but I get to see them next week in Savannah in row 2. So I'm going to stand here, and I promise you when it's over, I will get out of your way. And all of these nice people like made space and made sure that I had like the perfect view and was in the middle. There were like 3 people there for My Morning Jacket that didn't want to give up. I wasn't going to ask though. My spot was great. I mean, I didn't need to be right on the rail. I was one behind. But those people ended up actually being nice after. And, and trying to get me a set list.
Oh,
so,
yeah. Do you want to start? Do you want to just spoil that?
I know. When it was over, because I unintentionally was deemed show VIP from MVP.
MVP. There you go. VIP.
I'm foreshadowing for future times to be a VIP that can watch on the side of the stage.
Yeah.
MVP. See, I'm already like excited and can't even think of what I'm saying. Yeah, when it was over, you always say, try to get a set list.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm so thoughtful of other people.
Yeah.
Felt like a brag. I don't like to brag on myself, but I am. I try to be really thoughtful. I've been going to concerts for a long time. I had lots of friends in bands and like opening bands. So it's like scoot, scurry for the next band. And I think there was a time crunch. And I did not want to like be annoying and keep yelling for a set list, but I've never received one. And I thought it was my 15th show, but it was my 14th, I think.
Okay.
I knew I had one more than you.
Yeah.
And so it was me 14, you 13.
Got it.
By the way.
Got it.
I win.
Glad to clarify that.
I win. So, yeah, but all the people around us, it was like 8 dudes were yelling, get this girl a set list, and like pointing to me, and I think even called me the MVP. I know. And I didn't even mean to, and clearly it wasn't an obnoxious MVP. There are those people who like jump around and knock into you, and you're like, we get it.
No,
but there are other people here
like
too.
really
I think
excited.
I did bring the energy. I started to clap once.
You did. Yeah, you did.
I started to clap.
That's right.
So
yeah, take us into the set list.
We got a similar set list, but then a different environment, so it feels different. Remember on the dream set list can you tell that I'm very excited?
I know.
This one I feel like clearly I had fun this day.
You are back in the moment.
And my back is straight. We got a similar set list, but I had said on the dream set list that a lot of girls don't like being outside or when it's hot or when it's raining, especially like silly, whatever, just enjoy where you're at. Mm-hmm. But there's something about, I've been in the rain with the War on Drugs only once, but it was the coolest experience ever. And then several of my dream set list songs, when you watch the video, it starts to rain. Something about them and the rain. Also, I think they bring the rain. Usually it's not pre-raining, it starts raining. So they bring the rain. But it was a little bit overcast, and it did not start to rain until they did one cover, Play It All Night Long, and then they did Under the Pressure. And it just came down. And
they had the signs up. We're monitoring the weather in case it gets more, more dangerous. But enjoy the show in the time being. Yeah.
I was at the My Morning Jacket Bonnaroo 2004 in a horrible like lightning and thunderstorm, and they were like trying to get them off the stage because of how dangerous it was. It was the coolest concert. And they just like released a bunch of like 20-year anniversary stuff for that specific set too. So something about it. But I didn't know you were going to take a video. And you have that video where I have my arms up in the air.
I'll cut it
and
in.
I yelled, it's raining. Yeah. Or I think I said, I knew it.
Yeah, something like that.
That I knew that they would bring the rain. I was soaked and I loved every moment of it. Everyone was putting their stuff on and I was like, give it to me. This is incredible.
Yeah.
I had shin splints and knots in my calves for 3 days
around.
from almost like an hour straight of jumping up and down. And you even boosted me up a few times on
There's
some of
there's
the woos.
We found on one video from behind us somewhere. You could see your head pop up over the crowd. I had to get you.
The people around us
airborne.
were cute too.
Yeah.
Several people when it was over was there
choreographed.
a random guy asked to take my picture with the set list too. He had do you have a Live Drugs?
I think he did. Yeah.
Shirt on,
Yeah.
but he was like an older dude that it was so sweet. He gave me knuckles a few times, and then there was a little guy with a little gray ponytail.
Yep.
He was like my height, and he kept saying,
having a
"You've
blast.
seen them 14 times?" And then he kept giving me knuckles, and he was like, "So I should expect great things, right?" And I was like, "It's gonna be amazing." But it was under the pressure that he was like bobbing his head and giving me knuckles. So I loved that crowd. Yeah, that was great. And then
You made friends during the Beach Boys too.
sorry, I did. Oh my gosh. There was a dude from California.
Yeah.
I think he traveled 14 hours to see them. I mean, he looked like a dude that
See
like
the Beach Boys?
yeah. Wow. I know.
That's
He had
awesome.
like jeans and flip-flops and like a linen shirt unbuttoned. Clearly has like chain smoked cigarettes most of his life and jet like wavy long gray hair. And he was having the best time.
That's
But he
great.
said something funny to you about I was doing some
Oh, you liked how you're
Move.
dancing, yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah.
He said, "Is that how she won you?" or something like
probably.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
was cute though.
That's funny.
I was just dancing with him. He was having the best time.
Yeah.
But yeah, the people that I didn't catch their names, and I know they'll never hear this, but they were big My Morning Jacket fans that like kind of made a force field around me to make sure that I got a good spot that I reassured when it was over. I made sure I grabbed their arms and I was like, "Get up here before everyone else does." And they were so nice. Yeah. I love people who love music and bands and understand and get the vibe
Get the
that
vibe.
I'm a good fun time at a concert and that I will give you your spot. I want the experience to be great for everyone.
Yeah.
So
Of course, that set up having to protect the set list then for the remainder
oh,
of the night.
that's also why I went for My Morning Jacket. I went and sat in the grass and just held my set list like this the rest of the
You
night.
even got it with they had crossed
tape.
out. They crossed out Strangest Thing.
Yeah.
And played Red Eyes instead.
Red Eyes is so fun.
It was really fun. I'm telling you, the Telecaster, that guitar, I'd love
I know
to hear
that's
like,
the song
when he
that,
switched
like-
over to that. 'Cause
Yeah.
He used to play, I think, a Gibson Les Paul on
I was
that.
going to say a Les
And
Paul maybe.
that Telecaster is just way more chimey. So, and he might just do it for festivals or outdoor shows. I don't know.
Our friend, also named Adam, he played guitar for a band called The Music. They're from Leeds, England, but he had a Sunburst Les Paul, and he almost like solely played that at live shows. And the tone of that, I love. Their music style is very different from the War on Drugs and a lot of other things I listen to. It's sort of like the Vines. I love the Vines. I don't really listen to. But if you listen, a lot of there's like tonality to some of the instruments that are similar in a lot of the bands I like. So I think for me, I do love lyrics, but I also love the actual like full body feeling that the like tones and rhythms of certain like instruments give me. So yeah, Adam
Love it.
Nutter
Yeah.
played. That was his name.
That's great.
Is his name. Yeah.
Great. All right, what else? You got anything else from that, or else I want to take you to have you take everybody to the solo trip that you had to Savannah to see My Morning Jacket the following week.
I did. Well, I went to Savannah to see Chantel.
Right. Yeah.
Shawnee.
Yes.
And we got to see My Morning Jacket.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was wonderful. So yeah, we got back Sunday
Yep.
after late, almost midnight on the 22nd. And the morning of the 28th, I went on a solo trip to Savannah, Georgia to visit my best friend from home. Now Anna, we also saw, who I met just a few years after Chantel moved to Jasper. So those are my two concert besties and just best friends in general. So I got to see both of them within a month and have a nostalgic concert experience with both of them. But yeah, Shawnee has been in Savannah since 2005. So the week that I moved to Nashville, she, on her way moving from Chicago to Savannah, stopped and stayed with me. So we had, big moments at the same time. And Bonnaroo 2005 was happening. You know what? Actually, she came back for that. I remember because her mom wasn't going to let her travel because she would have needed to borrow money from her mom. And she had just left Nashville. And I called and I cried. I was like, please, I have 2 tickets for Bonnaroo. The guys that owned Exit In had the tickets and gave them to me. And
this is
2005. Yeah. So her mom, very, I was going to say pissily. Pissy.
Okay.
Let her come. I drove from, so Savannah and Nashville are like 8 hours apart. She could only find a flight within the limits her mom gave her to Atlanta. So I drove from Nashville 4 hours to Atlanta, picked her up, and then we drove back to Nashville.
Jeez.
And we went to Bonnaroo the next day. And My Morning Jacket Z had just come out.
Great album.
It was pouring. We were driving to Manchester, where Bonnaroo takes place on the big farm, and we stopped at a Walmart and got ponchos and the Z CD.
Cool.
And listened to that, and we loved Gideon. We were like, oh my gosh, this song is big. This is great. What a feeling. What a vibe. And
got that reverb you love.
ooh, love the reverb. And I don't think Shawnee and I saw them again together until Forecastle, where she also got to see the War on Drugs with us.
Yeah.
That was 2015.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Yeah. So I've been for so long trying to plan a trip down to see Shawnee, and I told her that I was going to do it probably after August when things slowed down. And was it when we were in Nashville when I got my tattoo? I think she sent me a text that said, Soul Brother #2, Jim James in Savannah, September 30th.
Oh, yeah,
and I
maybe.
was like, that's it. That's when we're doing it. That's when I'm going. So tickets, so it was at the Civic Center, which is not that big. And there was a pit. It was like a small orchestra pit. And then I got us second row seats, which it was sort of like the setup at Cuyahoga Falls, where it still was maybe 50 feet from the stage.
Yeah.
But I got some sad news while we were waiting for My Morning Jacket to come out. Pete Rose had died.
Yeah, that's right.
That was rough.
Devastating.
I was really shook up. I didn't know how to feel
I'm sure.
because I was so excited. I feel like I'm going to cry right now. Gosh darn it. Could I go without crying one podcast?
You've been doing so good at this one. But yeah, Pete.
Yeah.
it's a
Pete
tough
Rose
one.
has been a big deal to my family prior to my existence and farther back. My dad, my mom.
Big deal for a
elder
lot of
brother.
people, a lot of Reds fans in this
Yeah.
area. I was on the way to the business this morning, and they were talking about it on the radio. Just randomly had a coach on there talking about how the way Pete Rose, coaches still talk to their players about playing.
Yeah.
He said, I sent you a video this week that his favorite stat is that over his career, he's got 200 more wins than any player in Major League Baseball history. That is pretty cool. I mean, we're in an age where we glorify winning and winning at all costs to be the ultimate winner in a sport says something about you.
And there's always been something about him and his work ethic and his hustle that has reminded us of my dad.
Yeah.
And my dad loves Pete. So
for sure.
we did get, what are those called that we got for my dad?
Oh, you had like the celebrity call in.
So he made a video.
Cameo.
Yeah, talking to my dad, and I made sure to hit all the points that he hit, all the points of my dad's life that he's been a part of and that my dad's proud of. And that was 4 years ago, and he still shows that to people. He's
really
so
cool.
proud of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to MMJ. Yeah, it was, I know that they were about to come out. 2 of our dogs have been named after Pete Rose, by the way. We had Charlie Hustle, who is the reason why I, in reverse and Best Night, tear my soul apart in the most wonderful ways. Tears it apart and sews it back together. And then we have Petunia Rose, known as Toonie or Rosie or Swoots or Scoots.
They're sleeping now. Don't be waking them up.
It's true. So that was tough. Shawnee knew and immediately embraced me. And then the lights went down and I was like, okay. And then this woman that was like an usher up by the pit came up to our row and grabbed Shawnee and I and put us down in front of the stage.
Oh, wow. So you got upgraded.
Between all of us.
From MVP to VIP for real.
Jim James handpicked us. He said, that girl looks sad. I think she just heard the news about Pete Rose. He's from Louisville, so we have the Louisville Bats, the double A team.
For the
triple
Reds.
A team, that filters into the Reds. So I'm sure Jim James loves the Reds also.
Could see it.
Yeah. He knew, and also looked about and was like, hey, I've seen her before. I had a moment with Jim James in 2004 at Exit Inn. If anyone's been to Exit Inn, you know that then you could rest your purse and your drink on the stage. And in June 2004, the week after Bonnaroo, my friend Rachel and I went. Anna was in London. So sad that she missed that one. And we were having the best time. And Jim was about to do just an acoustic song. And it got really quiet. And Rachel and I at the same time said, I love you, Jim, really loud. And he stopped silent and said, I love you too. Also got to touch his hair at that concert. And he played guitar over the top of us, and I put my hand on his forearm and got to feel the muscles working on the strings. So I think he remembered and said, that's her. And I've seen Chantel too. Go ahead and bring him up to the front for the vibe.
There you go.
So
nailing it.
Yeah.
What about favorite standout songs?
Well, we got to hear Gideon.
Oh, there you go.
But at the end,
that has an all time, like his vocal on the start of that. I'm not gonna even do it. But if you haven't ever heard that song, definitely need to listen to
video.
it. Yeah.
So if the video plays, this is the
that's the feeling it gives, and his
Gideon feeling,
huge expansive vocal
Yeah.
intro. Yeah, splashes his voice all over the place with that one.
Yeah, it was so good. I think I wrote down Chris Christopherson passed away
he did.
I think it was Sunday.
Yeah.
So he did Help Me Make It Through the Night,
That's
Chris
cool.
Christopherson. And then he did Sunday in Savannah, the Nina Simone cover, which was
nice.
cool too.
That is cool.
So yeah, I will say again, 20 songs, hint, for bands that I love and want to see that it is okay to do a 20-song set.
Yeah, they aren't exactly like short song guys. Yeah, they'll jam it out a little bit.
And it still wasn't. That's maybe the only bad thing when you do go all in. Their shows are a little over 2 hours.
Yeah.
So
you would have liked to seen phone goes west.
Phone went west.
Phone went
and
west.
Cobra, back in the day, he used to put on, well, it was almost like a pirate's coat. I think now he's been doing like a poncho.
Oh, yeah.
But it had like a parakeet, like a
Yes,
fake
I
parakeet
remember.
on the shoulder and a hat, and he does his little dancing. Cobra's badass
Very
live.
cool.
But yeah, they ended with Wordless Chorus, which was a great one to end on.
From Z too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the Encore
Oh, yeah. What
was
that?
like made for me and all of my early 2000s dreams. 3 songs. Again, remember, I had a 3-song encore for the War on Drugs, and you were like, 3 songs?
Before I cut it. Oh, no, you did. You got 3 songs.
Oh, no, I kept it because
Okay.
I reassured you that I know Ultimate Dream set lists.
People do
and that
3-song
it
encores.
is possible. But started with Golden,
Good one.
and then Off the Record, which brought the whole
Everybody sings along
Civic
to that one.
Center. Yeah.
That one was great at Bourbon and Beyond, too.
Yeah. Ended with Dance Floors.
Oh, wow. Nice. That's a good one. Are you going to cry again?
I might. I mean, Shawnee and I embraced that entire time. She was so precious, too, during the show. I mean, she loves my morning jacket as well, but I kind of how I like, I'll say, I only listen to the War on Drugs, or at certain points in my life. In just before, I think or maybe it was during the time we got into like Kings of Leon and the Strokes a little bit, like more heavy around like 2003, 4, between like 2002 and toward the end of 2003. That's like all I listened to was my morning jacket. And so like the early stuff. And then of course continued to through like 2006 and 7. They were heavy in rotation, but they meant a lot to me at that time. So yeah, we got Majita and Old September Blues. I love that song. That's an old one. I like Steam Engine. Master Plan. Wonderful is Beautiful also. But yeah, Shawnee several times would turn to me and say, I remember you singing this to me.
Oh,
you know, like when I lived in Nashville or on road trips.
Yeah.
So
I think in general, it just reaffirmed for me. So I was thinking about this, that live music, I mean, live events, I feel like are, the thing still, as everything in society fractures. Like going to something live is still something that everybody gets in on. But live music is just maybe the best live event. Like going to a live sporting event, I love it. But ultimately, your team can lose, and then you're kind of in a sour mood or angry or something afterwards. But live music, as long as you're, stay in the moment, don't have something outside going on, it's just all gravy. Like I know there are better performances or a little bit better experience maybe, but I don't think I've left a live concert, especially if it's a band I really want to see, on a downer. It's just going to be like, wow, that was unbelievable.
I know there are some shows where I remember, when we were in college and there were bands that we had become friends with that we would follow too. And after the show, they would, like maybe be in a bad mood or talk about how off they felt we don't notice. If we unconditionally love your music and especially connect with it on like a cosmic level like I do, then we don't notice that. We are so like grateful and happy to be
like
in
magic,
that
right?
moment. It really does feel like magic. Yeah. So we don't notice it as much as they do. I'm sure it's hard though. You're not in the mix of playing it or having whatever things off in your ear or not hearing something right. But Yeah, I can't think of a show other than maybe one show with the Vines that Craig had a really hard time during the show.
Even that makes it memorable,
It
though,
does
right?
make it
You're like,
memorable,
wow.
and you know what a soft spot I have for Craig Nichols,
And
too.
you find out, especially after you find out maybe afterwards what was going on.
I always knew.
Yeah. What else? Where are you going to take us next? Or do you have anything else before we wrap up this evening?
I don't think I do.
You guys might not need to get back to your 2000s. Maybe get Anna back. There's a new podcast out. The guy that did 60 songs that explain the 90s is doing 60 songs that explain the 2000s, and he started referencing the Vines, and I was like, oh my gosh,
what's happening?
Don't let Cassie hear this.
Was he positively referencing the Vines?
He was
okay.
basically saying that rock died. And then rock came back again, and the bands that people would list to say that rock came back again were the Strokes, the Vines, and the Hives. Yeah.
Did you see me get this?
And I think it was the cover of Rolling Stone when it said "Rock's back" or "Rock's alive," and the Vines are on it. I have
that Rolling Stone magazine upstairs.
Okay,
I've showed it to you.
So maybe that's the direction you go.
Don't
next.
you remember when we were doing the Incubus pod though? That I said that I could transition into sort of where my musical taste went. I shouldn't say taste. I've always had an eclectic taste, but how I got into music so heavily and the bands that I did that led to me then deciding to change my college degree to music. It sort of stemmed from the end of that Incubus era and tour in like 2003 and 4, and sort of where my worlds collided again.
Recollided.
I was gonna say
reforged.
Yeah,
There you go.
I didn't mean recollided.
And I liked it though.
When I was gonna say something and then collided. So I was looking at you really hard, thinking, "Don't catch what I just did," because I know that you'll pick at it.
Yeah, that's right. I was gonna go with the Howie Day reference there. Maybe that's a good spot to leave it.